Yo, what up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Frody. Throughout history, we've seen several examples of golden ages from various civilizations and time periods. Today, we are living in the golden age of cloud chasing influencers, narcissists, alpha male podcasts, and BBLs. Now, on a serious note, we are also living in the golden age of options. Thanks to the advent of the internet, the personal computer, and mobile phones, today we are walking with access to seemingly infinite options in our pockets at all times. When you think about it, no other groups of humans in human history have had access to the sheer volume of different options that we have today. If you're hungry, you have options. Uber Eats, DoorDash, Seamless, you name it. If you are bored, you want something to watch, you have, how do you choose between Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Hulu, Netflix, you name it. See, the thing about it is that as humans, we've always craved options. We've always wanted variety, which is the reason why we have an omnivorous diet. So from that perspective, of course, the idea of having access to a bevy of options, would seem appealing, would seem advantageous. But in reality, that is not the case. The research suggests that having too many different options can be overwhelming. And like the saying goes, too much of anything becomes poison. For example, here's a crazy stat. Netflix has 50,000 titles in its library. Now, have you ever experienced this, where you're on Netflix, you find yourself spending more time looking for something to watch than actually choosing something to watch? And in the event that you do choose something to watch, you find yourself spending the first 20 minutes wondering if there's anything else better to actually watch. Here's another example, right? How many of you have closets full of clothes, yet in the morning you feel as though there is nothing to wear? You don't have anything to wear, or you find it challenging to choose something to wear. Now, the thing about me is that at a moment of time in my life, growing up in Haiti, I had 10 items of clothing total. And the crazy thing about it, half of those were my uniforms. But today, I have a closet full of clothes. Yet I find it most challenging to find something to wear today. How is it possible that today we have access to infinitely more options than any other groups of humans previously, yet we find it most challenging to A, make a decision, and B, be satisfied with that decision? Interestingly enough, this specific phenomenon actually has a name. It's called the paradox of choice. Now, the paradox of choice is an idea/concept that was popularized by David Schwartz in his book, The Paradox of Choice. In his book, he argues that, having too many options can have deleterious effect on our well-being. Why is that? Well, it's actually very simple. Too many options is overwhelming, can be overwhelming. I'm not a person that struggles with indecisiveness, but when presented with too many options, I become indecisive because there are so many different options. Number two, too many options can lead to decision fatigue. This is one of the reasons why many billionaires have been reported to wear the same thing. And I remember reading somewhere that it says that after the first 4 hours of our day, the quality of our decision making significantly drops off. So you think about people who are running multi-billion-dollar businesses, you can understand why they don't want to waste brain power choosing something to wear. They just simplify by buying the same thing. Another thing about it as well is that too many options essentially lead to buyer's remorse, FOMO, if you will. When we have too many different options, it's easy to compare and contrast. So if you have to choose 1 out of 3, that's easy. But 1 out of 30 is very hard, because when you do make a decision, you wonder whether or not you made the right choice. You wonder if another option could have been better for you. So overall, your level of satisfaction with the choice isn't high because you're wondering whether or not you made the right decision. Personally speaking, I've experienced this in many different ways, but one example I would share is this. I'm a natural hair enthusiast and fanatic. So years ago, there was this great event. It's called Curl Fest. It happens in the summertime in New York City. It's a celebration of all things natural. So naturally, I'm like, I'm gonna go there. One year I went there with the intention of finding my wife. In fact, I went in there ring in hand, ready to propose on the spot. But what happened? Imagine you have anywhere between 5,000 to 8,000 of the finest, the baddest looking, women in the tri-state area, all concentrated in one location. I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed. Everywhere I turned, there was a baddie. Listen, it was crazy. This is a picture of me, looking overwhelmed. at that event. At the end of the day, I left there, barehanded, because there's no way I could have made a decision, because the truth of the matter is whoever I would have chosen, I would have been dissatisfied with that choice, because I'm thinking about all the other potential people that I could have chosen but didn't choose. Is it a coincidence that many of us are so unhappy, so unfulfilled, so dissatisfied with many of our life choices? Is it perhaps because we've had so many different options to choose from? You think about it, the average supermarket today carries anywhere between 30 to 50,000 items. The average university, college in the United States today offers 100 plus major options. I mean, how do you decide what career you want to choose? There are so many different options there. How could you truly be satisfied with one? And then you think about the advent of dating apps. Now you have access to seemingly thousands of potential partners. How are you able to make a decision and be satisfied with that, knowing you have so many different options? And the crazy thing about having options as well is that, more options lead to higher expectation. One thing we learn about higher expectation is that the higher our expectations, well, the more opportunities we have for disappointment. Now, how do you prevent yourself from becoming a victim of the downsides, the side effects of the paradox of choice? Well, it's a very simple solution. It's a checklist of criteria for making a decision. Think about it this way. If you're going to go to Target, the best thing to do is to have a set of criteria. What are you going there for? Because if you have a list of 7 items, when you go to Target with a list of 7 items, one, it's easier to go and find what it is that you want to buy. B, more importantly, because you have a list, it doesn't matter how many other options there are, because you're looking for what it is that you're looking for based on the criteria that you set forth. So one of the ways to essentially prevent oneself from falling victim to the side effects of the paradox of choice is to have a set list of criteria for making a decision. In summary, the paradox of choice is something that we see in every facet of our lives, especially as consumers. And if we are not aware of it, it could have negative impact on our social emotional well-being. However, there are multiple ways. There are a couple of ways we could essentially protect ourselves from its side effects. One of which is by having a set list of criteria for making a choice, for making a decision. And also by being mindful of the choices that we do make. And 3, when we do make a decision, to make a decision confidently and be satisfied with that. As always, if you found value in this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and tune into the next episode where I do a part 2 about the paradox of choice and how it's keeping a lot of people single in these streets.